Space Godzilla is Godzilla's penultimate enemy in the Heisei film series, as well as the only extraterrestrial creature introduced in that series. Boasting an array of psychic powers and energy attacks, along with his ability to form and use crystals in a variety of ways, Space Godzilla is a challenging opponent and, as a result, shapes the direction of the battles that involve him. Generated by some of Godzilla's cells that were launched into outer space, Space Godzilla headed to Earth with the aim of conquering the planet and eliminating his Earthling counterpart. Space Godzilla triumphed in his first battle with Godzilla, even capturing the latter's adopted son in a crystal prison. The evil creature then made its way to Fukuoka and turned it into its own crystal fortress. G-Force deployed Mogera to stop Space Godzilla, and Godzilla himself soon joined the battle. Although Space Godzilla was stronger than Godzilla or Mogera individually, their combined efforts resulted in the creature's defeat. Despite only appearing in a single film so far, Space Godzilla has featured prominently in other Godzilla media. Space Godzilla is Godzilla's penultimate enemy in the Heisei film series, as well as the only extraterrestrial creature introduced in that series. Boasting an array of psychic powers and energy attacks, along with his ability to form and use crystals in a variety of ways, Space Godzilla is a challenging opponent and, as a result, shapes the direction of the battles that involve him. Generated by some of Godzilla's cells that were launched into outer space, Space Godzilla headed to Earth with the aim of conquering the planet and eliminating his Earthling counterpart. Space Godzilla triumphed in his first battle with Godzilla, even capturing the latter's adopted son in a crystal prison. The evil creature then made its way to Fukuoka and turned it into its own crystal fortress. G-Force deployed Mogera to stop Space Godzilla, and Godzilla himself soon joined the battle. Although Space Godzilla was stronger than Godzilla or Mogera individually, their combined efforts resulted in the creature's defeat. Despite only appearing in a single film so far, Space Godzilla has featured prominently in other Godzilla media. Very early in the production stages of what would become Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, the role of Space Godzilla was filled by an alien King Ghidorah named Emperor Ghidorah, who would have been a different individual from the King Ghidorah introduced in Godzilla vs. for the Showa incarnation. However, Toho decided to create an original monster for the film when they became concerned that Emperor Ghidorah would be seen as too similar to Yamata no Orochi from the then upcoming Orochi, the eight-headed dragon. Space Godzilla's gravity tornado ability, which he uses to lift and launch Godzilla in the final film, is a remnant of one of Emperor Ghidorah's proposed abilities, the power to levitate objects and opponents using his gravitational beams. According to an article published in G-Fan number 105, a Space Godzilla prototype called Astrogodzilla was featured in an early draft of Godzilla vs. Astrogodzilla's powers were primarily ice-based rather than crystal-based, and he was described as being purely white in color and possessing enormous wings. Although two origin theories are put forward for Space Godzilla, it is said that Astrogodzilla was specifically generated by Biolante's cells. Astrogodzilla also had the ability to telepathically control other life forms, and would use this power to take control of Miki Sigusa and Little Godzilla. Eventually, Shinichiro Kobayashi, who had previously written the story for Godzilla vs. Biolante, wrote a draft called Godzilla vs. Neo-Godzilla, who proposed the idea of a crystalline clone of Godzilla. Concept art for this interpretation of the monster included in the Heisei Godzilla Perfection book gives it the name, Crystal Godzilla. Some of these designs were radically different from the final design, featuring wings, additional limbs, and other unique features. Another early concept had the monster transform into imitations of Godzilla's previous enemies, as well as a duplicate of Godzilla himself, with his true form being a thin, skull-faced, quadrupedal creature. Space Godzilla's final design is a modified version of Super Godzilla, the transformation of Godzilla featured in the Super Nintendo game of the same name. Minoru Yoshida designed the concepts for both monsters, originally creating Super Godzilla for the game, but later recycling the look and modifying it into what would eventually become Space Godzilla's final design. Space Godzilla resembles Godzilla in many ways, but his skin is navy blue with a dark reddish-purple patch on his abdominal area that appears much smoother than the rest of his skin. He is considerably bulkier than Godzilla and also 20 meters taller than him. He has two huge white crystals that erupt from his shoulders, and his tail is much longer, ending with several crystal-like spikes. Its dorsal fins on its back are made of similar crystals and are white in color. As a result of his build, Space Godzilla has difficulty walking and cannot run, but makes up for it by having the ability to fly and levitate. His arms are also extremely thin and short compared to the rest of his body, due to the fact that he rarely uses them directly in favor of his telekinetic abilities. Space Godzilla's head is elongated and his mouth area appears similar to Biolante's, as he has sharp teeth and fangs on the sides of his mouth, along with fleshy membranes on the inside of his mouth. He has fiery orange eyes and an orange to yellow crest. Space Godzilla is one of Godzilla's most intelligent enemies in the series, displaying demonstrations of planned combat strategy throughout the film, harvesting energy from buildings, trapping Godzilla's sun, etc. This is further evidenced by the fact that Space Godzilla sought to dominate the Earth of his own will, rather than other monsters, who only cause random destruction, and whose only involvement in world domination is carrying out the will of their masters. Due to his overly muscular body, Space Godzilla prefers to attack with his corona beam from a distance and has sometimes been overwhelmed by Moguera's attack at close range. Its short, stubby arms meant it couldn't reach the mech without using its tail. Unlike Godzilla, who in the Heisei film series is portrayed as a force of nature, neither good nor evil, Space Godzilla appears to have an element of true malice, as Cosmos said the monster was heading to Earth for a specific purpose: to defeat Godzilla. According to Cosmos, Space Godzilla intended to kill Godzilla so that Earth would be defenseless when he took over it. In Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, the human characters hypothesized that Godzilla's cells somehow launched into space, fell into a black hole and emerged from a white hole, evolving rapidly by assimilating crystalline organisms and being exposed to the energy of exploding stars. It is not known for sure what caused Godzilla's cells to fall into the black hole. Two explanations are provided in the film: either the cells of Godzilla's previous clone, Biolante, escaped Earth's orbit when she ascended into space after fighting Godzilla in 1990, or Mothra unknowingly carried the cells into space on her wings in 1993, when he moved to intercept a meteor heading towards Earth. In the 2019 mobile game Godzilla Defense Force, the Space Godzilla Codex entry names Mothra as the kaiju responsible. Space Godzilla was first seen flying through space, where he destroyed a manned NASA satellite. He fought Moguera while on his way to Earth, defeated the mecha easily, and continued on his way. He landed on Bass Island and attacked Little Godzilla, but Godzilla arrived to save him. Space Godzilla quickly overpowered Godzilla using his telekinetic abilities and then trapped Little Godzilla in crystals. He flew over Japan, eventually landing and establishing his stronghold at Fukuoka. Moguera arrived in Fukuoka to fight Space Godzilla again, but was no match for the monster. Godzilla soon arrived as well and joined forces with Moguera. Moguera split into Land Moguera and Star Falcon. Land Moguera drilled underground and tore down the foundations of Space Godzilla's power source, the Fukuoka Tower, while Godzilla tore the tower down from ground level. Godzilla then had the upper hand, and Moguera used his spiral grenades to destroy Space Godzilla's shoulder crystals, critically weakening him. In retaliation, Space Godzilla ripped off one of Moguera's arms and began impaling the mecha on its tail and throwing it into a nearby building. Akira Yuki attempted to pilot the damaged mech back into battle, colliding with Space Godzilla and taking down the celestial clone. However, damage to the machine made it almost impossible to control, and the Moguera crashed into several buildings where it was completely disabled. As the space monster struggled to get up, Godzilla struck him multiple times with his red spiral beam, destroying Moguera in the process. Space Godzilla let out a faint roar and finally exploded into spores of light that floated back into space.